Yo, people, what's good? Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for tuning in at this stage of the day. I know it's not easy, midday, probably off on your lunch break. Um, Probably just have better things to do than watch me chat crap on YouTube, but thanks for tuning in anyway. I appreciate it. As I said, early housekeeping duties, folks. Please make sure to smash the like button. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel as well. And please turn your post notifications on as well. I'm going to be doing streams, another stream late on this evening today, straight after the game. I say straight after the game, probably about 30, 40 minutes after the game. I'm going to also be on Fuad's channel tomorrow for the THFC show, so that will be back. And I'm also going to do some more content on my channel, maybe early on Saturday morning as well, to preview the Liverpool game and maybe talk some more about the Man United game. I might do that tomorrow, either tomorrow afternoon or early Saturday morning, depending on when I have the time. But yeah, here it is. Yeah, let's talk. Obviously, a lot of the talking in the football world is around Arsenal yesterday. I must admit, it's sweet. It's really sweet. As pathetic as it is, me having to sort of latch onto their failure to give myself a pick me up. It is what it is, because it's been a disastrous season for Spurs. The fact that it's got to this point tells you how bad a season Spurs are having. It really does. And listen, despite all my agendas and stuff, there's actually no shame in Arsenal losing to Man City. There's not even any shame. Okay, maybe there's small shame. There's not even any shame in getting blamed by Man City, because that is literally, we're talking about someone who I reckon will probably end up going down as the joint greatest or second greatest ever Premier League manager, behind Fergie. And we're talking about a manager who will probably go down as the greatest ever manager of the modern times, right? So there's no shame in that, right? But some of the goals that they conceded, there is shame. The caliber of goals they conceded. I mean, the third goal, Odegaard, blind pass, did the same shit against Southampton as well for their second. The first goal as well. Kevin De Bruyne just running off Thomas Partey, just running past 2-3 players. Mate, like, as I said, there's no shame in losing to Man City or even getting blamed, but it's the manner in which Arsenal lost. Man City, it was a comprehensive beatdown. Arsenal looked poor. They just couldn't compete. And whilst you can probably credit Man City being excellent yesterday, there's no excuse for dropping points to Southampton at home, 20th place Southampton. And there's not really any excuse for dropping points against West Ham when you're 2-0 up. But listen, Arsenal have had a great season. They've had a great season, but they just got to hold that. They've collapsed right now and they bottled it. Simple. Two things can be true. Arsenal have had a really good season. In fact, fantastic season, and they've also bottled the league. And they've also collapsed in these last 3 or 4 matches. All of these things are true. But anyway, let's get back on Spurs, because unlike them, they're still getting Champions League football. They're still going to finish the season second, right? Which is a much better season than I can give Spurs. Or better yet, Spurs have given us. What do I have on my agenda today? So the first point I wanted to speak about today, I wanted to speak about the aftermath of the Newcastle game, right? I wanted to speak about the aftermath of the Newcastle game because the players, obviously, and I want to speak about this player committee as well, right? So for me, I saw that message, and I'll share it now. Let me even bring it up just so we can quickly talk about it, because there's a lot of lip service from Tottenham now, and it tends to be the case. Whenever we lose, whenever we go through a disastrous result or a nasty spell, you hear the same interviews done by the same people. Oh, Lloris comes out and says, "Oh, we have to fight. We have to do this. We have to do that." It's the same BS. We hear it every single time, and what annoys me with Spurs is a meltdown is never too far away for Tottenham. It's never too far away from Tottenham. Ever since Ish went downhill with Pochettino, right, and they incorrectly sacked him, Spurs have never been too far away from a meltdown. It's crazy. There's no in between. We're either so good that, oh my God, like the fan base is semi-united again. Or in fact, no, that's not even true. That's not even true. It's either we're good, not great. It's either we're good or we're just downright disastrous, right? Jose Mourinho, his first season, obviously he joined in November. We end up finishing sixth. The next season, we're allegedly challenging for a title, whatever that nonsense is, challenging for a title, which I didn't really believe. And then we finish seventh. Yeah. The following season, we start off the season terribly with Nuno, right? He gets sacked with Spurs in seventh or eighth or whichever it is, and we finish fourth. And you're thinking, okay, cool, maybe we're a good side again, and then bang, straight back to square one. We have a poor season, and now we're languishing in sixth. Is it sixth or seventh? I can't even remember where we are on the table now. I think we're no, we're seventh. We're seventh as it stands now. So happiness is too, it's fleeting. It's very, very fleeting as a Spurs fan. Like you can never be too happy because your happiness gets snatched away from you so quickly. And I just want to share this these comments that the players have, right? This is a message from the players this is a message from the player committee on behalf of the players. So it reads, right? As a squad, we understand your frustration, your anger. It wasn't good enough. We know words aren't enough in situations like this, but believe us, a defeat like this hurts. We appreciate your support, home and away, and with this in mind, we would like to reimburse fans with the cost of their match tickets from St. James's Park. We know this does not change what happened on Sunday, and we will give everything to put things right against Man United on Thursday evening, when again, your support will mean everything to us. Together and only together can we move things forward. Now, I don't know about you, man, but I'm sick of this lip service. I'm sick to death of this lip service. Yeah. Stop telling us what you're going to do. Show us on the pitch. Show us on the pitch. 5-0 down in 21 minutes. That is the second fastest in Premier League history that a team has been down 5-0 in a Premier League match. To be down 5-0 in 21 minutes for a team that you've allegedly been competing with this season for the same thing, which is top 4 qualification. It's absolutely embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. And no words can fix that. And even the gesture itself, the £30. Let's dissect this. I get it. £30 is already a subsidized match day ticket, right? But the £30 is only the tip of the iceberg. Now, I don't expect Spurs to reimburse people for their accommodation, so places that people stayed at the night before if they went there on a Saturday. I don't expect Spurs to reimburse people for their food, for their drink, right? Because that's just you feeding yourself, right? You buy the alcohol, you buy the food, you buy your fizzy drink, you buy your waters, you buy your meals. Cool. But why do they think that £30 is a good enough gesture? If you're going to make a gesture of goodwill and give fans some money back, give them back money for the transport costs, because that is the biggest expense. Not the match day ticket, it's the transport. It takes around 5.5 hours to get to Newcastle. Now imagine how much you'd have to pay to top up a car if you're driving there. How much you'd have to spend on petrol. Yeah? I'm going to go on Trainline now and I'm going to tell you, right? I'm going to go on Trainline now because I've been to Newcastle many times. Newcastle, great city, by the way. Been to Newcastle many times. I've been to watch Spurs at Newcastle. Fortunately for me, I went back when we had Pochettino in his first season and I saw us win. We won the game 3-1. I think Harry Kane scored, Nasser Chadli scored, and Christian Eriksen scored. Yeah. So I'm going to do the search, right? So the train leaves King's Cross, so London King's Cross to Newcastle. Yeah. This is without a rail card. If I wanted to go on Saturday and come back on the Sunday. Yeah. This is without a rail card, and I'm going to share with you the price. I'm going to share with you the price. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let me just, yeah. And as I expected, so I tweeted this and I had a massive argument with a couple of the guys in a group chat I'm a part of. Look at the price. Look at the price. The cheapest is 112 quid. That's the cheapest to get from London to Newcastle. That's the cheapest. That's without a rail card. Obviously, with a rail card, you can bring that down to maybe, I don't know, maybe like 85 quid, right? So what point am I making here? The point I'm making here is it is expensive to go to Newcastle. It's expensive to go there by train. It's expensive to go there by car. It's expensive and it's time consuming. So those fans have made a hell of a long journey, right? Have spent a heck of a lot of money only to see their team be out of the game completely by 20 minutes. That is not good enough. That's not good enough. And I don't expect this to be the case for every pumping. Trust me, I've been to, I only speak of this because even though I didn't go to the game, I've been in that position. I've seen, I traveled to see Tottenham get pumped 6-0 by Man City years back, right? I've seen that. I've seen beatdowns. Do you get what I'm saying? People cussed me out when I went to the Arsenal game and we were 3-0 down in 34 minutes of a North London derby. There are just some things that aren't on. And whilst I didn't expect a refund for that North London derby game, absolutely the travelling support should be getting their transport back as well as the ticket. They should be getting their transport back. It's the least you can do after that disgrace of a performance. After that disgrace of a performance, it's the least you could do. Minimum, that's a 7 to 8 hour round trip on the train, and that's a 10-hour round trip by driving on top of the cost. Just to see that, not good enough. Not good enough. Not having that. Absolute joke. Absolute shambles. They're a disgrace. And if they really wanted to show good faith, they would give the transport cost back. What is it to them? How much is that? How many tickets allocated for Newcastle? Probably what, like 3,000, 3.1, right? Let's say they give the average person, each person, maybe £100 back in transport. Let's say 3,000 allocation plus 100, right? To be fair, that is quite a lot of money. That's like 300,000. That's like 300,000. Maybe not 100. Maybe not 100. But if they said, you know what, instead of giving you your match day, just your match day ticket back, let's give you some money towards your transport. You don't even have to give all of them the transport cost. Give you some money towards your transport. Make it 60. Yeah, make it 60. If we do 3,000, let's just say 3,000 times 60, 180k. If it was really the players that were offering to pay this, what's 180k to these guys? If it's the whole squad, what's 180k? That isn't even 1 week's wages for Son. That's like 20k shy of Son's 1 week's wages for Son and Kane. Yeah. If I do 180k divided by how many players in our squad? Maybe like 22, 23. That's like 7.8 bags. Maybe subsidize it for the lower earning players. That's nothing for them. That's nothing for them. But if they really wanted to be genuine about it, they would do it. If it's coming out of the players' pockets and they wanted to be genuine about it, they would subsidize transport costs as well. But no, they can't. They can't. And it probably isn't the players. It probably isn't the players. It's probably the club. which is why they said, no, cap it at 30. Just give them the money back. I saw the clerical issues or the admin issue where they deducted points, and they said it was an admin error. And initially, I didn't believe it, but it's believable. To be fair, it's believable. But listen, I've become cynical when it comes to anything to do with Spurs. So I wouldn't even put it past them that they probably deducted it and then just chucked it back manually. But technically speaking, from a technological standpoint, maybe it was just the admin error, right? So that's just my point on that. If you're going to do it properly, or just don't do it at all. Yeah. £30 is not making that much of a dent in people's expenses for the weekend. It's not. And if it was a concerted effort from the players, you can give more. You can definitely give more. Yeah. Man are clearing $1 million a month. And even after the taxman takes half away, you're still on 500 bags just off your base salary. 7 grand. 7.8k. It's nothing to you. It's nothing to you. Man will spend that on a night out. They'll spend that on a night out. But anyway, that's my piece said on that. Empty gestures. And they said something in their statement. They said they want to right their wrongs against Man United. Yeah, prove it. In fact, I'll get onto Man United later on today. Okay. Julian Nagelsmann. The noise is ramping up. The noise is ramping up and up and up and up and up. And I'm still not going to let myself get sucked into it. However, I do now actually believe that there is some element of truth to this, right? The noise is coming from various sources, some credible, some totally not credible, but I don't believe in smoke without fire. And whilst I'm still pessimistic on Spurs landing a manager like Nagelsmann, what I can see is that there actually might be a window of opportunity where Spurs could potentially tempt Julian Nagelsmann. And if that's the case, then we need Mr. Incompetent at the top, Daniel Levy, to do his job. Put the necessary protocols in place to bring in a manager like Julian Nagelsmann. Give him the say he needs on the squad. Give him the structure he needs behind the scenes with a new DOF, right? Give us a plan. Give us a vision. Give us a step-by-step on how Spurs are going to get back to being a side that fans can get behind. A side that can actually get back to being competitive. Or in fact, why am I even saying get back? To be fair, we were competitive under Pochettino. We were. Yeah. Be competitive. Play good football. Have good principles. Develop young players. Give us a plan. Give us a plan, because this is not it. I'm sure that's what Nagelsmann wants. I'm sure that's what they probably pitched to him at Leipzig. Give us a plan. Give us something that these managers will actually want to be able to get behind. Knowing him, he'll probably hire Rodgers. Joking, absolute joking. But anyway, yeah. Nagelsmann, we have to try, man. They didn't want to go for Pochettino. I'm somewhat glad and angry. I'm glad because Poch doesn't have to inherit this mess and he doesn't have to tarnish his legacy. But I'm also angry in a sense where it's like he wasn't even considered. And I know that in the past, I've had my apprehensions about Poch coming back second time round, simply because I just don't believe a manager's coming around second time round. I don't like it. Nothing to do with Poch's managerial prowess, but it's all about Enoch. Are they going to be able to give him the necessary tools to succeed? Right? But the fact that they didn't even consider him and now he's going to the rivals, it stings. It stings. But if there's one positive out of it, it's that Pochettino doesn't have to inherit this mess, because Spurs are a mess. And I feel sorry for the next Spurs manager, whoever it is. If it's Nagelsmann, if it's I say if it's Nagelsmann, pipe dream, but you know what I mean. Whoever the next Spurs manager is, they got a big job on their hands, man. They really do. They really do. The Kane situation is up in the air. No director of football. A lot of poor players that need moving on, right? Some young players that need developing. There are some positives, of course. You'll make a nice salary. I'm pretty sure the next manager we hire will get the time he needs. And there are still some good players that you would inherit. Do you get what I'm saying? There are still some good players that you would inherit, but it's a deterrent. Daniel Levy is a deterrent. Our attitude to refreshing this team is a deterrent. Our attitude to going for cup competitions it's a deterrent. Our loser mentality is a deterrent. It's all a deterrent. Our lack of direction as a club is a deterrent. So I feel sorry for the next Spurs manager. I really do. But be that as it may, the custodians of the club better come up with a damn good plan to sell this project to the next manager. Honestly, I think they're saying that Poch news might be announced soon. That's going to make me sick, man. Honestly, I hate to touch on it again, and it almost feels like I'm a brat, because it's like I've always been open with Spurs hiring a manager who isn't Pochettino, and I still am. But I also don't want him managing the ops. I would hate that. A manager who had such a deep connection with the fan base managing Chelsea, it's going to make me sick. And ultimately, I will want him to flop. The game is the game. But at the very least, for the time being, I can still hold him in such high regard for what he did in his time at Spurs, in that stint. And I would hope that one day, when we have new owners, when Spurs are in a much better position, he can come back and finish the job that he was unfairly dismissed from. But now it's a mess. And if he goes to Chelsea, fair play to him. Now, let's talk about this weird player committee as well. So this player committee that apparently we have, that's made up of Harry Kane, Lloris, Dyer, Højbjerg, and Skip. Let me tell you this for free. Out of that player committee, 3 out of 5 need to go. That's what's mad. And they're representing the players. Dyer needs to go. Lloris, it's done. It's done. It's finished. Been a great servant for the club, but it's over. Cooked. Needs to go. Sorry, my camera is... Needs to go. Højbjerg, stripper extraordinaire, needs to go. So the group that's meant to represent our players, 3 out of 5 of them are literally not good enough. What does that say about the team? Player committee, and 3 out of 5 of those players are literally not good enough to be at the club anymore. Skip is a 22-year-old kid, or 23-year-old kid, sorry. In fact, I'm going to stop calling him a kid. He's a guy. Skip is some 23-year-old guy who is a decent squad player. He's a rotation player. He's not a starter. He ain't a starter. He's not good enough to be a regular starter for a side that supposedly want to be competing in the Champions League. That's just the reality. That's just the reality. I have nothing against Skip. I think he's a diligent DM. I think he does his job well, but he has limitations, glaring limitations. But he's not that much of an issue. I think Skip in the squad is calm. Him in rotation is calm. It's calm. And he's come into the team in a difficult time, and he's actually put in some decent performances. The fact that the so-called much more experienced Højbjerg, who's meant to be better than Skip, has been putting in worse performances, says more about Højbjerg. So that's 3 out of 5 players that aren't good enough and need to be moved on. And 1 out of 5 that is a squad player. Yeah. And then the last one, Harry Kane, his contract is up in a year's time. His contract is up in a year's time. The fan in me would love to keep Harry Kane for the rest of his career. That's the fan. The honest fan in me would love to do that. But I also recognize that Spurs need to put together a plan for life after Harry Kane. And now presents an opportunity to do that. It's going to be short-term pain, of course, because Spurs are not going to get a striker of Harry Kane's ilk. It's that simple. We're not going to do it. Richarlison isn't as good as Harry Kane. I like Richie, but he's been shocking this season. He's nowhere near as good as Harry Kane. And there is no striker Spurs can go out and buy who comes close to Harry Kane. Because the strikers who are better than Harry Kane, there's probably only one, they're not coming to Spurs. And the strikers who are just even the level below, they're also not coming to Spurs. So there's going to be a drop-off. There's going to be a drop-off. That is guaranteed. That is guaranteed. But this presents a window for both Spurs and Harry Kane to separate. Do you get what I'm saying? If he really wanted to stay, he would have signed a new deal by now. He would have signed a new deal by now. If he really wanted to stay, I get assessing your options. But let's be real. Like, I've braced myself for this. I've braced myself for this for the last 2 years. Harry Kane is going. Say it with me, people. Harry Kane is going. Because when you say it, right, you can get used to it. And trust me, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. But we need to accept eventually that Spurs will have to move on from Harry Kane. Right? It may be a bad thing at the start, but you never know. The only doubt, and I get it, the main problem with Harry Kane moving on, which I completely understand from a fan's perspective, is that the people who are put in charge of replacing Harry Kane, they're terrible at this. They're terrible at succession planning. That's the only legitimate concern. I get it. I absolutely get it. But if the man doesn't want to stay, we can't force him to stay. What, we should lose him for 0? That doesn't make any business sense. There's no sense in that. There's no sense in that. And there will be offers this summer. I fully expect that Man United will make a bid for Harry Kane. And I feel like Spurs should push for 90 to 100 million. I think we can get that for Harry Kane. If we get that for Harry Kane, sell him. Not to Chelsea, to Man United. Sell him. Let him go. Let him go. Use the money and replace and start building a Tottenham Hotspur that isn't so overly reliant on Harry Kane. Do you think I want this guy to leave? Do you think I want to lose a world-class, a bona fide world-class player? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But Spurs need change. And change sometimes means you have to make some painful decisions. We don't know what's going to happen. It's the fear of the unknown that gets people. But in the end of the day, Spurs are crap with Harry Kane. We're crap with Harry Kane. This isn't good. Kane is having one of his best ever seasons, and we still stink. And I understand the rhetoric. Oh, if Kane wasn't here, we'd be worse. Yes, we would be worse. We would be worse. But the bottom line is we are still bad. Whether you're 8th or you're 12th or you're 13th, that's still mid-table. You're still bad. You're still bad. Relative to the targets that we normally set ourselves, which is to try and finish in the top 4, that's still bad. So I get it. Some clubs sell their big players and they go on and thrive. Some clubs sell their big players and they struggle, right? Using Liverpool as an example, when they sold Luis Suarez, who was everything to them, similar to Harry Kane, there was a significant drop off. They went from challenging for a title to Man City to finishing below us. They finished below us that season. In Poch's first year. They finished 6th. So now with Spurs, who are a top 4 side last year and are currently 7th now, with Harry Kane, maybe we could drop off to 10th. Maybe we could go up one position and finish 6th or 5th. You never know. Right? If we can get the coaching decision right, that's the first step. But as far as Harry Kane is concerned, now presents a perfect window of separation for both the club and for Harry. Right? Let him go. Honestly, let him go. Let him go. Change shouldn't only mean the bad players go, even the very best. Maybe Spurs find a different way of playing that suits them better without Harry Kane. Who knows? Nobody knows these things because we haven't tried. And I think with Spurs, we've become so used to clinging on, milking players until they're basically dead. You look at Son, we've drained the best years of his career, and now he's at a point where he's only basically effective when he's right at the top end of the pitch. Anywhere else, he's rendered null and void. We don't know how Kulusevski would look under a new manager. We don't know how Richarlison would look under a new manager with more minutes. We don't know these things because we've not tried them. It's painful. It's absolutely painful. Don't get it twisted. If Harry Kane stays, great. Maybe the new manager can find a new way of playing with Harry Kane. I spoke about that with Enrique. If Enrique with potential was to come to the club, I spoke about a way in which he could get his wide men pressing and have Harry Kane screening, so he doesn't have to lead the press. There are ways to make it work with Harry Kane, but as fans, we should also acknowledge that Harry Kane isn't the be-all and end-all. He isn't. All right? It may look like that now. We may be muddied. But this is going to happen anyway. Harry Kane is not going to be world-class forever. Harry Kane is not going to be this good forever. Eventually, Spurs are going to move on from Harry Kane. So why not get a head start on it now and get some money when the guy actually wants to leave? Because I believe he wants to leave. I believe Harry Kane wants to leave the club. I really do. I really believe he wants to leave the club. I just think that his options are shortened now because Lewandowski's at Barcelona, Haaland's at Man City. Right? Benzema's still at Real Madrid. And he wants to chase this Premier League record. So he's shortened his options. But there are still options for Harry Kane. And if a sizable bid comes in the summer, Spurs should take it. A sizable bid that I've mentioned, 90 to 100 million, take it. Push for it. Push for it. Simple. If he wants to leave, let him go. Let him go. So yeah, that's just my view on the player committee, on the Harry Kane situation as well. Mate, when we lose Harry Kane, it's gonna be pain, man. It's gonna be pain, but we low-key need it. Because the over-reliance we've had on him and Son over the years, it's killed us and it's killed them. And we need to introduce players into our team that can carry us more. We need to spread the load. It can't just be Harry Kane and Son every time. We need to spread the load. Of course, you're going to have a hierarchy where you have like your best players, your mid players, your worst players. But the over-reliance we've had on these guys for years is crazy. For all, even using Son as an example, for all the criticism that has been levied at Son, and rightly so, because he's been pants this season, he's been terrible. These men have been putting Spurs on their back for years. For years. For years. Their backs must be knackered. But anyway, that's just my view on that. Yeah, it is what it is, man. If Harry Kane leaves, send him away with our blessing. Let him go. Get as much money as you can for him and let him go and see if he can win stuff elsewhere. Because we've tried it at Spurs, it hasn't worked. If he stays, we still need to reinvent ourselves. If he stays, we still need to reinvent ourselves. It can't just be Harry Kane. It can't. He can't just be our sole source of goals. He can't just be our sole creator. Obviously, I say sole source of goals because of their season, because the Sun was bad. But typically, you know what I mean, Harry Kane and Son. We need to spread creativity across the pitch, spread goals across the pitch, spread quality across the pitch. We've got a world-class striker, but we've got a flipping relegation standard defense. Do you get what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. Where's the balance? This team needs balance. And it needs quality spread out evenly across the pitch. Anyway, that's my thoughts on that. Ryan Mason. Let's talk about Ryan Mason. Right? Now, I'm not sure if you guys have watched it, but I have seen Ryan Mason's High Performance podcast. My friend sent it to me a couple of weeks back, and I watched it. And I must say, I really rate Ryan Mason's mentality. I rate his determination to do things in the manager domain. I really do. I rate that he backs himself to take the Spurs job on an interim basis. This is the second time now. He said with no hesitation, he took that, he jumped to that call the first time around with Levy. I've not watched his interview yesterday, right? But I just want to say, I actually rate his determination and mentality. It's not an easy gig, and he's willing to take it. So fair play to him. But with all due respect, what is the fascination at Spurs with shoehorning Ryan Mason into this domain? What is the fascination with shoehorning Ryan Mason into these managerial domains? Poch spoke well of him. He did. As a player and as a future coach. Conte has spoken well of him. So that's two top coaches that have spoken well of Ryan Mason. Fair. But managers speaking well of you is not enough for you to be the Spurs job, even on an interim basis. Even on an interim basis. This guy's managerial experience is limited to managing the Spurs under 18s, right? Being the interim manager of Spurs for 7 games in the 2021 season, being part of Conte's first team coaching staff for, maybe like 16, 17 months, and now second stint as interim manager. Sorry, that's not enough. He has no credentials to even be in this job on an interim basis. He doesn't. He is only in this job because of extraordinary circumstances, i.e. the club being ultra incompetent, failing to sack Conte in time, hiring Conte's number 2, who was clearly not fit for purpose. The 2021 season, waiting until April to sack Jose Mourinho. So exceptional circumstances where Spurs literally had nowhere else to turn meant that he was the one that they favoured, despite him having less coaching experience than the likes of Powell, for instance. Do you get what I'm saying? I saw quotes yesterday that Ryan Mason would like to throw his hat in the ring for consideration as the permanent Spurs boss. And what annoys me is that we've got fans that are lapping it up. I was looking through I think it was the Spurs Express that tweeted it, would you have Ryan Mason as the manager? And I was looking through some of the comments, and there were some logical fans who shut it down straight away, said, I like the guy, but no, not a chance. He's not got the experience. He needs to go elsewhere, get his experience, build up that credibility, and then come back. And then come back for consideration. But then there were some fans who said yes. Said yes. And I think that some fans really place a heavy emphasis on the fact that Ryan Mason is one of our own. I'm sorry. One of our own hype. I don't give two Fs that he's one of our own. Are you qualified to do the job required? If the answer is no, then he should not be considered. I don't care what happens between now and the season. Ryan Mason absolutely should not and cannot be considered for this job on a permanent basis. It's even a shambles that he's got this job on an interim basis. And I believe that Spurs need to stop shoehorning Ryan Mason in this domain. Stop shoehorning him into these conversations, because we have fostered the environment in which Ryan Mason genuinely believes that he can be considered for this job. We've allowed that to happen because we've elevated him into positions that his experience has not warranted. He now believes that he's someone that can be in consideration for this job. And that is ludicrous to me. That is crazy to me. Right? Vincent Kompany's been managing for 3 to 4 years. And I saw some fans say let's see what Kompany can do in the Premier League. Rightly so. He's done a fantastic job with Burnley. They're back up immediately. Sorry, man. He's done a fantastic job with Burnley. They're back up immediately. And yet there's still reservations because we've not seen how he can be in the top flight. And that's valid. Takes nothing away from Kompany, but that's a valid point to make. Even Michael Carrick is managing Middlesbrough. He's had to go down to the Championship to get his XP. Managers that have flopped like Gerrard and Lampard, they've been managing for years. Gerrard had to go to Rangers after leaving Liverpool. Lampard went to Leeds before, and even then, when he got the Chelsea job, it was unwarranted. There was no rationale for putting him in a Chelsea job, and look how he flopped. He had no business being in that job because he wasn't qualified. Right? It's easy to look at the success that Arsenal have now had with Arteta. It's easy, right? But people don't look at what it took for them to get to this point. The fact that Arteta could have been sacked 3 times. Arteta is the exception to the rule and not the rule itself, right? Because for every Arteta, you have a Gerrard, you have a Lampard, right? You have a Paul Ince, you have a Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. Yeah? Get your experience. You got no standing in the game. You got no experience. Get your experience first. Leave Spurs, get your experience, and then come back for consideration. Sick of this nonsense, man. When it comes to Ryan Mason, there's so much sentiment behind it. There really is. There really is. And it needs to stop. It needs to stop. I don't hate Ryan Mason. It may sound like it sometimes the way I tweet, but honestly, when I tweet any sort of negative things about Mason, it's not about Mason per se. It's about the perception that some Spurs fans have of Mason. It really irks me. It makes me sick because I'm like, what has he done for you to have this opinion of him, apart from be a former academy lad who went through a really traumatic experience when he was playing at Hull? What's he done as a coach or manager to make you believe the things that you say about him? Honestly, man, we need to give it a rest. Need to give it a rest. After this interim period, I don't want to see Ryan Mason forced on the next manager. The next manager, if he is part of their backroom staff, I want them to do the same thing as Conte and come out and say, yep, I wanted him. I wanted him. It was my decision. I want to hear that. If I don't hear that, then I don't want to see Ryan Mason. I don't want to see him forced on the next manager. Right? Let them make their own decisions. Let Ryan Mason make his own decisions. If he wants to manage so badly, go elsewhere and get your experience. This ain't work experience. This ain't work experience. I don't care how much of a laughing stock we are at the moment. This is not work experience. It's a multi-million pound business. This is a football club. It's a football club that actually has aspirations. Right? We can't afford to give this job to a rookie. He doesn't even have 6 months of management experience. His longest exposure to first team experience is being part of Conte's first team coaching staff. Because if I really wanted to go off his interim spell, he had maybe like 1 month? 1 month? Come on, man. It's crazy, man. Too much sentiment when it comes to the likes of Ryan Mason. And that's Tottenham Hotspur in a nutshell. Sentimentality rules their decision-making. And it's probably one of the few things I might actually respect about them if they go and get a manager like Nagelsmann, right? Because the sentimental pick was Poch. It wasn't only on sentiment, because Pochettino actually has the credentials to get the job, right? But if you go out and get someone like Nagelsmann, you can prove to me that, wow, even though you acknowledge that Poch ticks these boxes and he's a sentimental pick, you want to go with a different option that can also do a good job. I would actually gain a little bit of, just a smidge of respect. Big up Philly 2109. He says it here. Sentimentality has held this club back for years. For example, Dele, Ali, Sissoko, Aurier, Dyer. I don't even think Aurier can be included in this, but the rest, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that's just my view. I don't want to see any tweets, right? Anyone who I see on Twitter actively propping up Ryan Mason to be the next permanent Spurs boss, I'm actually just going to block them or mute them. I just don't want to be seeing it. Even if we win tonight, which I'll get onto, right? I don't want to care. I don't want to see it. He could win the next, how many games do we have left? 6 games left? He could win the next 6 games in a row with clean sheets across the board, and I still wouldn't want this guy to be managing Spurs. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see the prop. And anyone who I can see actively propping up Ryan Mason as our manager, I'm just going to mute you and block you. Because you don't want what's best for this club. And I'll say that with chest. Now, let's move on to the final part of the stream, right? Man United. I saw a tweet. Apparently, Bruno has travelled with the squad. I just saw this guy on crutches a couple of days back. This team said the money won't make up for what we had to go through, and they said they want to right wrongs today. Talk is cheap. Do your talking on the football pitch. Too much lip service at Spurs. From the players, from the managers, from Levy. Too much lip service. Do your job. Yeah? When I look at the Premier League table now, Man United went to Arsenal, lost. Went to Man City, got battered. Went to Newcastle, got pulverized. Went to Aston Villa, lost 3-1. Went to Liverpool, got battered 7-0. Yeah? They haven't gone to Brighton yet. I expect that won't be a win. Went to Brentford, got pumped 4-0. Yeah? So as it stands, Man United have only beaten one team in the top 10 away from home, and that is Fulham. This is a side that categorically cannot replicate their home performances on the road against the better sides in the league. It is statistically proven. It is statistically proven. This team cannot replicate their performances at home against the better sides in the league away from home. They can't do it. And now, with no Varane, with no Martinez, with a half-fit, half-baked Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, who's just only returned from injury, right? They come to our ground tonight. They come to our ground tonight. And you guys remember the result last year, El Sacico? Similar circumstances. Maybe not with the injuries, but Man United were in a poor run of form. They were saying that if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer lost that game, he loses his job. If Nuno lost that game, he loses his job. That's why they called it El Sacico. Well, Nuno lost his job. So what does that tell you about the result? It meant that Spurs choked as per at home. They got battered 3-0. Battered. And emphasized what Spurs fans talk about when they speak on Dr. Tottenham. Now, I think Man United are going to win tonight. I predicted 3-1 in the Big Six. But really and truly, this is one of the few games in our running that I earmarked as a possibility for Spurs to get points. Absolutely, we should be looking to beat Man United. We have the players to beat Man United. Do we have the right setup? Do we have the players in the right moment, form-wise? Do we have the right in-game adjustments? Do we have the right back line? It's a joke thing. If those players are really serious about righting their wrongs, they'll beat Man United tonight. They'll beat Man United tonight if they're serious. It's been proven that this is not a difficult team to beat when they come up against the better sides in the table. And if you're a supposedly better side in the Premier League table, prove it tonight. Prove it tonight. Show us something different. But they won't, will they? They're going to choke, right? They're going to choke. And they really shouldn't. Because there is nothing scary about this Man United team. There isn't. There's nothing scary. If anything, they're weaker. They're weaker. You're up against Maguire and Lindelof. You're not up against Varane and Martinez. You're up against Maguire and Lindelof. In fact, you're up against Lindelof and Luke Shaw as flipping centre-back. You're up against potentially Dalot at left-back or right-back, or Shaw at left-back. You're up against Scott McTominay, Fred. We made Fred look like Iniesta in the reverse fixture. Man United slaughtered us in the reverse fixture. They absolutely slaughtered us. I was at that game. Disgusting performance. I got back home at, what time did I get back home that day? I got back home around like 4 a.m. and I was seething. I had to record then. Our record against Man United is wretched in recent years, right? The last time I felt good about Man United performance was at Wembley when under Pochettino, we bland these guys out of their socks. In fact, tell a lie, the best moments I've had against Man United at home have come with Mauricio Pochettino as manager. 15-16, 16-17, 17-18, yeah? We battered Man United across those 3 games. Battered them. That 3-0 at home in the 15-16 season was brazy. 3-goal blitz in the space of 10 minutes. 16-17, I think we were 2-0 up by like minute 20, minute 30. Just peppering them. 17-18, we went ahead within the first minute. Since then, I've not enjoyed playing Man United at home. I've not enjoyed it. Our defense is going to let us down tonight, of course. Our midfield, probably. Our attack, probably. But they have the capacity not to. They have the capacity not to. As I said, I went for a 3-1 loss in the Big Six, but Spurs really should be looking to use this game as a way to actually pick themselves back up. They really should. As I said, many weeks back, this was one of the few games in our running where I said, you know what? I can see Spurs getting a result here. Right? But the players have to turn up. It's that simple. The players have to turn up. The players have to turn up. Pretty simple. You turn up, you got an opportunity to beat this team today. Ten Hag is a really good coach. Man United still have some good players that can hurt us today. Rashford can hurt us. Martial can hurt us. Even Anthony can hurt us because he was twisting up Perisic at the game at OT. Bruno Fernandes, if he plays, can hurt us. Casemiro is an obvious threat. They can hurt us, but we can hurt them. We can hurt them. Anyway, I don't know what people are saying in the chat. Yep. Sally says this. Yeah, I agree. You did. That's what I mentioned. I think Man United blamed us in the reverse, and I think listen. I went for a loss today, 3-1 loss, but something in me is telling me that we'll probably get a result today. Let's see. Let's see if these players actually back up their chat and turn up. I think there's going to be a protest today as well. I think there's going to be a protest today, so there will be a protest before the match outside. I know a couple of mates who are going to that. I'm probably not going to go, but I will leave my seat free. I think today as well, a lot of people are leaving their seats free in response to Enoch to get them out. Right? I've got 2 tickets for today. I'm not attending. I'm not attending the games. I'm leaving the seats free. I'm not selling it on. I'm just leaving it free. Make that stadium empty. With the big jumbo screens, with BT Sport or whatever, make that stadium empty. Let them know that we have a serious displeasure at what we're seeing. I'm not gonna be there tonight. I'm not gonna be there tonight at all. That's the most important. That's the most important message tonight. Not the result, because win, lose, or draw, the season's cooked anyway. It doesn't matter. Our season's fried. The most important thing is making ourselves clear that Enoch have to go. They have to go. They are a stain on the club. Yeah? They are a stain on the club, and they are holding this club back. They just suck the fun out of everything. So I'm not going to be there, and there will be a protest this evening. Big up to those who are going to be at the protest. Be loud, be boisterous. I don't want to see anyone on Twitter putting these people down, because they're trying. They're trying. And I think that's what we need to do as a fan base. We need to unite and come up with a way that everyone or the majority agree with, which is like a good approach to actually make our voices heard towards Daniel Levy, because I think that's the main issue now. It's too disjointed. There isn't like one voice, right? We need to do something about it. So whilst I won't be at the protest, I'm not going to be at the game either. No. I'm going to leave those seats empty. And I encourage anyone else who's a season ticket holder, who has a spare ticket, do the same, man. Do the same. Because even if Spurs win, who cares? Honestly, who cares? But yeah, that's just my view anyway. And big up to the people who are going to protest later this evening. Thank you for the super chat, man. Rad. She said, not looking forward to going to the game tonight, but thanks for the therapy session beforehand, bro. I'm going to say 1-1. Yeah, I could see a draw. It's crazy. I could see all possibilities. I could see Spurs winning. I could see Spurs drawing. I can see Spurs losing. Let's see. I'm still going to stick with my 3-1 prediction on Big Six, and let's see if I get a correct score. Anyway, people, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. I'll be back later on this evening to talk about the game. Yeah, win, lose, draw, I will be here. Make sure you turn your post notifications on. I think I'm going to be live from around 10:40, but I might push it to 10:45. But anyway, yeah, big up, people. Make sure you're back here in the evening. Look out for tomorrow as well on Fuad's channel, THFC show. It will be me, Fuad, and Sava. And yeah, look out for even a stream tomorrow evening from myself as well, just previewing the Liverpool game and just maybe just talking about a couple other bits and bobs. But yeah, bless up, folks. Take care. Peace out and Enoch out.